Hey everybody, this is John Scarborough. A little bit bright out here today. To kind of show you all around a little bit. Still got a lot of work to do on this place. COVID-19 has kind of messed up our plans as far as building a house when we wanted to. So that kind of hasn't happened like we wanted it to. But moving along. Pretty comfortable. Still trying to figure out exactly what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. But everything's working out pretty good. I wanted to talk a little bit today while I was taking a little break. Something I hear a lot of people talk about, and they talk about sustainability and things that you can do to make things more sustainable. And one thing I hear a lot about is people talking about farming practices that use less water or no water, and they talk about it, talking about how it might be better, better for the environment and better for things if you're using less water. And I'm sure that there are some definite farming practices that may use water in such a way where it's ends up not being beneficial to the rest of the planet. That I don't know a lot about that side of things, but I hear a lot of people talk about livestock and about how they drink. They talk about all the water they drink. I mean, cows drink a lot of water in a day. I think in a hot summer day, a cow can drink 30 gallons. So each cow drinking 30 gallons, that ends up being a lot of water. Well, so a lot of people talk about cattle and things like that. It's bad for the environment because they drink a lot of water. But something that a lot of people, I think people has a little bit of a misconception about this, because I'm sure that there are certain farming practices that involve taking water out of the natural sequence, and kind of disrupting the flow of things and disrupting things. And the biggest problem really when it comes to water is water raining down. It rains down, and it hits all over. But a lot of times what we see is it will hit at the highest peaks, highest mountains, and it will end up draining all the way down and get all the way down to the bottom to the lowest valleys and end up in creeks, and those creeks will bring it down to larger creeks, and those larger creeks will bring it into rivers, and those rivers will bring it into along the way there's always lakes and stuff like that, and those lakes and stuff are actually great holding places, small ponds, even lagoons that you'll find along your creeks and stuff. They can be nice holding places to keep all that water from going down. So then eventually what happens is all that water continues to go down, and at the end it always gets down to the ocean. And actually going to the ocean is not necessarily a bad thing. What's bad is when it starts carrying all the nutrients, all of everything it's got, and all of it runs straight off your soils, and it goes straight into the creeks and all the way, and it just runs all the way down, and it never stops. So that nutrients, that topsoil, never stops and never soaks into your soils. What you need is, it needs to end up back at the ocean. And the reason is because the ocean is the largest platform that the world has, where there is nothing stopping the sun from evaporating it. So that evaporation process is what picks it back up and brings it back to the highest portions of the earth. Without that evaporation process, when it sits inside of a nice cool creek or in a lagoon or in a pond or something, and it's not getting a surface to steam off of, now it still does steam off of those surfaces, but you're not going to get near the steaming surface. What really creates a nice hot steaming surface where you get a large quantity of water all at one time is when it's out in the ocean, and there's no trees, there's nothing covering that, and you get massive amounts of steam. And then there's lots of winds and things that circulates that water, gets it mixed all up from all corners of the world. That water will mix all in, and then it steams up, and then the winds will move that water all around and get it all moved into different places. Well, as that wind moves it all around, then that rain comes back down, and it rains back down all over the world. Okay, in different places of the world, obviously places that have to have that still rain. is what I'm talking about. So getting down to the ocean is not necessarily the problem. The biggest problem is when we have no organic matter on our soils that slows that water down so that we can absorb. We have no carbon in our soils. We don't have things that will stop it, and then we have less lagoons, and because we don't have as many beavers and things that make little lagoons and stopping places, we have less ponds and things like that. But it's mostly the topsoil, okay? Because you get, you get large amounts of water that flow. So you want to see grass. Like I've had so many people to tell me, you got way too much grass, John, way too much grass. You know, you need more animals. Okay. Well, I'm like, well, I probably do need to clip this because a lot of this has gone sour. You know, I need to clip some of this and bring it down. But if I get more animals come summer, now I'm going to have too many animals. So clipping this will actually add organic matter to the soil. And that's just kind of a lot of people don't even really realize that organic matter is something that's important as well. In fact, you talk to a lot of farmers and all they know about soil is, oh yeah, we need nitrogen and we might need potassium and phosphorus, but pretty much just nitrogen, you know. And then we go get a soil sample and we get whatever other stuff might be lacking, but we always put stuff into it. It's not really about what's in it. And then adding organic matters and things like that. Things like that, it's almost like it's foreign to a lot of these people. So it's the lack of organic matter, dry soil, that ends up being some of the issues with that. So you want ways for it to absorb. So then back to the animals, okay? So you think to yourself, okay, well, what do we really need then? Well, what we need is ways to slow that water down from getting to the ocean. Ways to allow the soil to get saturated and to hold some of that moisture. The earthworms and the microbes to get the moisture that they need, and then it get used, and then eventually that moisture does need to trickle down through those little root structures, you know, all the little roots and things like that needs to trickle down underground and end up filling up our aquifers and then end up in their ponds and stuff. And the overflow needs to end up in the ocean. And that is the actual right way to do it. There's our garden, guys. Got quite a different experimental things going on out there. But anyway, that's a video for another day. I hate watching a video and someone talks too much about a different subject that the title's not about. But I do like to kind of show stuff here and there where I can. But anyway, so the issue, what we need to do is to slow the absorption of that water, to slow that water down where it doesn't just wash over top of the land. You know what I mean? It needs to soak in. So when you think about a cow drinking 30 gallons of water, okay, well, they're drinking all these different cows drinking 30 gallons of water out of a pond. Well, they were going to bring that pond down some just simply from them drinking. Now, that's assuming you have a pond, okay? So they bring that pond down some, okay? Well, what does that do when they bring that pond down? Well, that allows, when the rain comes in and it starts pouring in, that allows you to have more residual, more room inside your pond now that you can actually take. That's got more room. It's got more room. So when the rain comes in and all the water starts to drain down and it ends up in your pond, well, instead of your pond overflowing and then it ended up going down farther down the line, you actually get to keep all of that in your pond, okay? Well, then you think, well, but it's gone. You know, that's what a lot of people seem to think is, well, it's gone. The cow drunk it, it's just gone. No, that's not true. The cows actually drink it and it goes into the cow's body, and the cow actually uses it to help use minerals, the same as we do as humans, to use vitamins and minerals, and then they end up urinating. It comes out in their urine and comes out back on the ground. Well, what happens when it's rained, okay, but now it's quit raining, and then these cows end up putting urine back on the ground on a drier days? Well, guess what? That's more absorption into the soil, and that's more spreading of stuff into the soil. But not only that, it's moving minerals that got stuck in your pond, stagnant, so to speak, inside your pond. It's moving those minerals from that pond and moving them back up onto your hills. And that's why good management is important. management of not just letting your cows go wherever they want. Because if they go wherever they want, well, they're just going to go walk back in that pond, spend most of the day in their pond, and then they are going to pee and poop in that pond. And then the pond's going to go stagnant. You don't want that. You want a nice, fresh, clean looking pond. If you have a stagnant pond on your property, it's a good chance that somebody has let it go stagnant like that, or let animals run in it. We don't do that here. We actually have a pond on a place that we started leasing right across the road here. When I first got on that place, that pond looked very stagnant and nasty, and it was actually very low. And there was no fish. I couldn't get a fish one, okay? And now I did start putting fish in it, okay, later on. But the point is it literally, I wasn't sure they were going to make it. If we had more fish than we could eat, then I would put them into that pond, hoping that they would start to regenerate. Well, now that I've been running the property for about 3 years now, the pond actually looks fresh. It actually looks clean. It looks very vibrant. And now the new owner, the guy that owns the place now, he's been showing me pictures of big old bass that he's been catching out of the pond. And I'm like, bass? I never dreamed that he would catch bass this soon. Like, I knew obviously that what I was implementing would help the pond and help the health of it. I knew that it would help things, but I never dreamed it would help it that quickly. Okay, I mean, he was catching big bass out of that pond, and the pond just looks clean. It doesn't look stagnant anymore. It just looks vibrant. Okay, y'all can tell there's storm clouds behind me. So I've been actually doing a lot of work in the shop. And I'm actually, if you can tell, looking at my face, I've got bags under my eyes and things like that. Because I haven't, usually when it rains, I broke my neck when I was younger. I was about 19. And so when it rains, it always makes my neck hurt, and then I don't sleep good. Well, then also, because I'm not sleeping good and it's raining, I end up doing a lot of work in my shop. So if I look kind of worn down, it's because of that. I've just been doing a lot of staying up more than I should. But anyway, that's something I've been fighting and battling for a long time is neck pain, and it has gotten better through the years, but I do still feel it sometimes during these rainy times. But anyway, so the point is that it's not so much the farming practice that gets rid of the water, okay, or like cows that drink all this water, because the cow urines, it's going to pee out every last bit of the water that it drinks. It's going to either pee it out or it's going to sweat it out. It's all going to come back out and go back onto that soil, okay? It's not like it's just disappearing, all right? A lot of it comes out in sweat and ends up steaming off of the cow and going into the atmosphere, which not everything that goes in the atmosphere is a bad thing. People need to remember that there is supposed to be a natural cycle of things, okay? Anyway, so the point is that, and I hope y'all can hear me through all this wind, but there is supposed to be a natural cycle to everything, okay? But the water, it's not a bad thing at all. In fact, it's a really good thing. So really, when you get lots of animals that drink lots of water from these different spots, from the lagoons and from the ponds and from your creeks and things like that, and they hold it in their bodies, and then they distribute that urine and that water throughout the property. The distribution of that water in small amounts, a little at a time, that along with high amounts of carbon in your soil creates healthy soil. That creates it brings a lot of nutrients. It's a cleaning agent. It's a cleaning cycle for the land and for your soils, and it can actually make things better. And as a whole, as an environmental whole, I gotta pick this up, y'all. Found a nail sitting on the ground. I sure don't want that. But as an environmental cycle, it's actually extremely cleansing for the environment. It's extremely healthy for the environment. So don't automatically assume that anything that uses water is necessarily a bad thing. We've used water. Found another nail here. That's not good. That's a piece of wire. I got this crushed concrete in, and there's a few nails and things like that on the crushed concrete. So that's not really good. But anyway, just picked a few up here and there. So far I haven't had a flat tire, but crossing my fingers. But anyway, so the point is I get that a lot, and I know that it's not necessarily my viewers that are in farming or anything like that, but there are a lot of people that seem to have those concerns. Like, are we, what are we doing for our environment? Are we using up all the water? No, you're not using up all the water. What's that? The cattle on the land, the farming practices that are actually bringing, that are using the water and then redistributing it slowly and gently into the soils and allowing it to soak and absorb into the soils and pulling those minerals out of those ponds and out of those lagoons and out of those creeks and bringing them back up onto the higher hills, and they urine that back out. That is a good cycle, and that is a good thing. So don't get mixed up about that. Don't, like I said, I don't know about some of the other farming practices. There may be practices that are bad. I'm sure that there are. But when it comes to raising animals in a good manner, where you've got a good rotation on them and where you've got good litter. I mean, you look at this. Now, this is just roughly bush hog. But I mean, this is a lot of litter that we've left on the ground. We've refilled our litter bank here, okay? And that is a good thing, So when you combine all of those things together, that's what really starts to actually make things cleaner. It cleans the water. It helps to recycle minerals and help to make certain minerals more available. There's actually a lot of minerals, some vitamins, but a lot of minerals that are not available for certain plants. There are minerals that are not available for certain animals, and there are minerals that are not available for certain people. Even like when you read on a package or something, it says it's got this much potassium, or this much magnesium, or this much manganese, or copper, or I can't even remember all of my minerals right now. But the point is that when it's got all of these different minerals and it says how many's in there, it's not telling you how many of those are absorbable, how many of those you can absorb, or how many of them are bioavailable for your body. Well, it's the same way with a cow. It's the same way with grass. It's the same way with certain trees. But when you have certain animals, it's kind of like when you eat a carrot. It's got beta carotene in it. That beta carotene can convert to vitamin A, and our bodies will convert some of that to vitamin A. But the most bioavailable source of vitamin A is when a cow eats a grass blade. They can convert that beta carotene very easily from that grass into vitamin A. And then, so the easiest way for our bodies to absorb that is actually by eating a piece of liver, or by drinking, well, it would have to be grass-fed milk, because that's where they get the grass, or from eating butter. Butter is very high in vitamin A. And so those things are more bioavailable. Not saying that you don't get vitamin A or beta carotene out of carrots. You do. But you're not going to absorb as much of it. So the point that I'm trying to make is, when a cow reaches down and drinks certain water from a pond, or when you've got multiple different things along all in one ecosystem, those things all together start breaking down minerals and helping them to be more absorbable. Kind of like certain minerals are in rock, and you can't get those minerals out. They cannot be utilized by a plant. Cannot uptake some of those vitamins and or some of those minerals without carbonic acid, if I'm saying that right. It has to have carbon. You have to have broken down carbon that produces carbonic acid, that then turns around and breaks down the mineral in that rocks and allows it to start absorbing. So like our soils are depleted in many different minerals. One of the reasons they're depleted in many minerals is because we don't have carbon to produce that carbonic acid to start to break down those rocks. Because, we have lots of rock in our soils, okay? Now, I'm sure that's not the only reason, but it is a very large reason. So the point is that you need a vast ecosystem. You need an ecosystem with lots of different diversity. You need these cows and these sheep and these hogs and these these different animals drinking from these ponds and eating certain grasses, running those minerals through their body and utilizing some and then breaking down some. They will pee out a lot of those minerals and they won't use them all, but they break them down and make them more bioavailable for the plants so the plants can uptake them. And then they pee them out into the plant uptakes them, and then later they can turn back around and eat that plant, and now they can absorb it. And then when we eat that cow, or we eat that lamb, or we eat those hogs, now all of a sudden a lot of that nutrients is way more bioavailable for us. Or when other animals turn around and eat those animals, or when other animals eat, like a wild deer, reaches down and eats some of that grass that was fertilized by that urine that came from that pond. Okay, those things help to recycle nutrients, to break down nutrients, and to make nutrients more bioavailable. Okay, so don't automatically, if you think that way, don't automatically think that all farming is bad if it uses any water. Everything uses water. You use water. Okay, you're alive. You're a living organism. To keep the world a living organism, we all need water. Okay, so you're not going to stop needing water. It's the cycle of water. We need the cycle of water. So just remember that cattle on the soil, cattle on the ground, cattle being rotated, and grasses. All these grass is pulling up soil. All these pulling up water. All these trees are pulling up water. They're uptaking water, nutrients. Okay, the sun is actually pulling water from, not just from the soil, but it's actually pulling it from those grass blades, from those leaves, and drying some of those leaves out and pulling some of that out. But what does that do? In a way that actually causes that tree not to go stagnant. That pulls some of that water up, okay, and it cleans that water, okay, and allows those trees and that grass to pull new water up, because now it needs new water. And through that pulling of new water, it now brings up new nutrients, okay? So it's that moving, it's the moving of things. It's the mobility of things. It's kind of like your body needs to be mobile in order to be healthy, okay? You need to move your lymph system, okay? Your lymph cannot move in your body unless you move. It doesn't have a pump like your blood, okay? You can't just move one part of your, like your blood. If you move one part hard enough, then you can actually circulate blood throughout your body. It's better to move your whole body, but the lymphatic system has to have, every single portion of your body has to move at some point in order to get that lymph fluid moving through your body. Those things have to move. So really, it's the movement that cleans things, okay? And especially when it comes to water. Water needs to move. Water needs to stay hydrated. It cannot become, or it will become, stagnant, okay? And water is a really good source for moving minerals and helping minerals to move around. So just remember that, guys. It's not not everything you hear, not everything you read is bad 100% because you read that one side of it was bad, okay? So try to get an understanding for these things, guys. Here on this farm, we raise grass-fed, grass-finished beef, okay? We hope to do lamb, we hope to do pork, things like that. We even consider getting into ducks, chickens, things like that. We're not certified organic, and we're not certified grass-fed, okay? A lot of that is harder to get into than people might think, okay? But we do all of these practices to the best of our ability, and try our best to be as sustainable, not just sustainable, but regenerative as possible, okay? And in all of that, we try to make sure that our soils are healthy. We focus mostly on our soils more than we focus very much on the health of our cattle, okay, and on the health of our product. But we focus first on the soil. That is our primary focus, is what is the soil doing? What does it need? How can we help it to regenerate itself in a way that it will continue to regenerate itself? How can we create a system that will continue to regenerate its own self and get better and better. So that's what we try to do here, guys. So just keep that in mind, and remember about the water thing, okay, guys? Not every form of agriculture that uses water is necessarily a depletion of water. Now, I don't know if there's any form of agriculture that is. I don't know much about a lot of these others. But what I do know is about what I do, about raising livestock and cattle and things like that. And the way we're doing things here is not harming the environment in any way. And I would definitely argue that it's definitely helping the environment. So anyway, guys, I just wanted to put that video out there. It is a little bit of a lengthy one, but I do hope that all of y'all that appreciate this will like and subscribe and continue to follow us. All of those, when y'all subscribe and when y'all comment, when you like those videos, that really helps out a huge amount. Helps to get it out to other people so that they can see it, but it helps me, okay? It helps my channel and it helps my business, okay? I mean, part of the reason for doing the videos is partly because I enjoy teaching. I enjoy showing things that I've learned, and just kind of showing some of the experiments that I do. And really it's just kind of a de-stressor sometimes to make a video. But a part of it is advertisement. I'm hoping to bring advertisement to our to us and to our farm. But I also want to help people realize that you can farm in a way that is better for you. It's also better for your customers. It's better for the health of the animal. It's better for, well, it's better for the environment in reality when you get down to that, okay? But it's also better for you, the farmer. It's better all the way around. There is a way to do that, okay? So I just wanted to put that out there, guys. So like I said, don't forget to like and subscribe.